Hey y'all, what's going on? I'm here for the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 9, episode 2. We picked up right where we left off at with Phaedra bringing Portia to Kenya's housewarming party. Um, Cynthia is asking, Phaedra and Portia how they feel about the house or whatever so far, and they looking around like, oh, it's nice, it's coming along. All right. Um, Anyway, so Kenya, she immediately notices Portia, and she's in her confessional like, no thoughts allowed. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, is this Transformers or some shit? Like, are we watching Power Rangers or some shit? No thoughts allowed. But no bullshit though. I might use that on somebody. Like, I ain't playing. But anyway, so Kenya tells Portia that I didn't invite you or whatever. Like, we are cool, but I thought I kind of made it clear and all this other stuff. And Portia kind of knew where Kenya was getting at or whatever. So she just took it upon herself to just exit stage left. And she tells the ladies, bye, and that she'll see them later and all this other stuff. And Kenya, she's talking to the other ladies or whatever about what just happened. And Phaedra, she also she leaves with Portia and everything. But Kenya's talking to the other ladies about what had just happened or whatever. And she was like, I'm pretty sure she's been kicked out of better places, like places with African princes and whatnot. Then Matt shows up, and they're all shocked or whatever, and Candy, Cynthia, and Sheree, they decide to leave. Um, Kenya and Matt, they go to her room to talk and everything, and he tells her that he was wrong and that he has some work to do, and he knows that he has some work to do because he wants to be her protector again if she'll allow him. She tells him she felt betrayed and everything, and that he has to build her trust back up. Now, I mean, like I said, I always kind of felt like Matt had like a few screws loose, but at the same time, I did think that him and Kenya made like a cute couple or whatever. But as we, see later on in the season, the shit ain't gonna work out because them screws that's loose. But anyways, but yeah, I did want it to work out between them two, like but whatever. Anyways, we get Cynthia. She's in the kitchen talking to her daughter Noelle, and Noelle's like, it's been weird since Peter hasn't been around and everything, and Cynthia tells her that she talked to a lawyer, and Noelle's like, oh, so like y'all are serious about this, and Cynthia's like, yeah, and everything. Noelle, she says, well, I knew about you guys arguing a lot, and my room was like right there, so I could hear y'all all the time. And Noelle, she asks her mom, did she have low self esteem? I'm like, well, goddamn, though, like Noelle just ain't got no filter. She was like, I mean, do you have low self esteem or something? I was just like, well, damn, like. And Cynthia's like, no, like, what would make you think that? And all this other stuff. And, she was like, I don't know anybody that will argue with the same person over and over and over again, and stay and all this other stuff. And so, Cynthia, she kind of, starts to cry a little bit. She gets emotional. Noelle hugs her and everything. And Cynthia, she just wants to set the right example for Noelle because she feel like maybe she stayed in the marriage with Peter longer than what she should have. Anyways, moving on from that, we get Candy. She's talking to Don Juan and Todd about some logos for Ace, for some baby products for other babies that they're trying to come out with. Mama Joyce, she shows up in regards to the old lady gang restaurant. um and Todd is saying that it's a lot of work that still has to be done, and Candy is like that it should have been done in May, and that the new deadline, is set for August, but the way things are going, she doesn't know if that's going to happen either. Mama Joyce asks about the housewarming party, and Candy was like, well, Portia got kicked out. And, Mama Joyce is like, well, I mean, Kenya shouldn't be inviting her. She know that she didn't like her and all this other stuff. And Candy is like, but that's the thing. Kenya didn't invite her. Phaedra brought her. And then Mama Joyce, she was like, oh, that damn Phaedra. I knew it was something with her and all this other stuff. And Joyce is like, I think Phaedra need to be in jail with the Apollo ass. I was like, here we go, Mama Joyce back at it again with the bullshit. But I mean, a lot of people have said that about Phaedra, though, that she needs to be in jail with Apollo. So I wasn't too surprised when she said that. And Mama Joyce was like, how you not know where your man at every day, and you calling the office and he ain't got no office to go to, and he walking outside every day with a goddamn briefcase. I was like, she must be watching people talk about this shit on Instagram, Facebook, or wherever or something, because people been saying this shit about Phaedra. But anyways, she was like that the streets be talking. I said, here she go with these goddamn streets again. Isn't that what got your ass in trouble the first time in regards to Candy and Todd? But anyways, Mama Joyce, she's like, in the state of Georgia, if your spouse is in jail for at least 2 years, you can automatically get a divorce within 2 months. She was like, Phaedra sitting up here trying to play victim and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. And, but she claimed she want a divorce so bad. I was like, Mama Joyce, ooh. And then Don Juan, he chimes in, talking about, putting his foot up and whatnot, talking about some Phaedra probably be on the phone with Apollo with her foot up, getting a foot massage from her other man and shit like that. I said, they ain't shit. They is not shit. Now, I don't know the laws and the rules and the regulations for the state of Georgia and divorces. And, I'm not even married my damn self, so, I mean, I don't know. But, somebody that was there with them, I guess, looked it up on the computer to prove Mama Joyce's point. Candy says that, her and Phaedra are cordial at this point or whatever, so there's no need for all this extra stuff. And I guess, because of the falling out with Phaedra, Mama Joyce, doesn't like Phaedra at this point. I mean, well, obviously, we can see. But, I was like, she ain't shit for that. But anyways, moving on. We get Phaedra and Kenya. And we also get Sheree and Portia separately. Phaedra and Kenya, they meet up for lunch somewhere. And then Sheree and Portia, they meet up for lunch somewhere. So Phaedra and Portia, they talk about her and Matt or whatever. They talk about Kenya and Matt. And Kenya is like, we're doing good. We're just taking it one day at a time, whatever. Phaedra is like, ooh, it looks like, sex does you good and all this other stuff. And they start talking about how protein does you good and everything. And, Phaedra, she pretty much wants Matt to stay around because that's what makes Kenya act right. Kenya, asks Phaedra about, if she's seen anybody and everything. And Phaedra is like, no, I'm just trying to play it cool until me and Apollo get a divorce. And Kenya knows that Phaedra is bullshitting, just like the rest of us know that Phaedra is bullshitting. Because she was like, she was like, come on. We know that Phaedra's getting her groove on with somebody. I'm with Kenya on that one. But anyways, okay, so Sheree and Portia, like I said, they're sitting down at lunch or whatever. They talking about Sheree's house, and, then Sheree asks her, about her getting, thrown out of, Kenya's house and everything. And, Portia is like, folks is always labeling her as angry and all this other stuff. And, Sheree can relate because, people are always, labeling her as an angry black woman and all this other stuff. Kenya and Phaedra, back to them, pretty much, Phaedra is, telling her that, Portia is doing anger management and all this other stuff, so she doesn't have nothing to worry about. And Kenya is like that, ain't nobody curd within a few visits and everything, but Phaedra tells her that Portia is having an event and that she wants, to invite her to the event and everything. Well, Portia wants Kenya to come to the event. Phaedra is telling her. And so, Kenya is okay with it or whatever. She's going to, go ahead and go along with it. So, moving on from that, Candy, her and Todd, they at the old lady gang restaurant, looking around for what else needs to be done and everything. And she pretty much doesn't want this to be another flop like her play that she had. And which I can understand, when you have one failure, that shit could just make you feel like, oh my god, I just don't want to, fail again and everything. But it happens and all this other stuff. And Candy, you're still successful regardless. But anyways, the old lady gang shows up to see, what's going on or whatever. And Todd is showing them the layout and what they got so far. Mama Joyce is pretty much shading Todd about who. It seems like it's gonna be a lot of money coming from this and all this other stuff. One of the aunts, I can't remember her name, but she's suggesting, like that they have like $5 pictures. People take $5 pictures with them and all this other stuff. Aunt Bertha don't want to do shit. They just want to get paid. So the meeting went well, I guess. Whatever. Moving on from that, Kenya, Cynthia, and Candy, they're at this spa to get waxed. And Kenya wanted to treat Candy and Cynthia because they going through different transitions in their life and everything. Cynthia, she's just gonna get her arms waxed or whatever because her vagina is closed at the moment and everything. I'm like, well, I hope you're gonna at least still shave that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope you just ain't gonna let that shit grow into a beaver. I'm just saying. But anyways, Cynthia, she's trying, like, she's actually tasting the wax, and she's telling Candy and what's her name, Kenya, that they should try it or whatever. And Candy is like, I don't know, they could have used that from the last person vagina. They could have used that from the last person's vagina and everything and all that other stuff. I'm like, ooh, well, I hope not, if they gonna be using that shit on your arms and everything, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, Kenya tells them about, that Sheree pretty much has been talking shit about her to the girl Lena or something like that. I think she was at Kenya's housewarming or whatever. And she tells them, but her house is in her mama's name and everything, so it should be called Chateau Thelma and all this other stuff. So I was just like, oh Lord, is this going to be these two storylines for the season? Them just shaking the fuck out of each other about, their houses? Like, anyways, moving on from that, Cynthia meets up with Peter. It's awkward. He wasn't ready to see her. She brings him his mail, and she's like, you need to call the lawyer and everything to talk to him. And he's like, it's not a priority in my life right now, and that it's going to take me a minute because, you checked out of this marriage before I did. And he was like, I went into the hospital. It felt like I was having a heart attack or something. I'm like, okay, Peter. And he was like that, they asked me, who could I call in case of an emergency? And she was like, and you didn't say me? And he was like, it hit me at that moment that I couldn't say you and everything. And she was like, that we've been friends for 8 years and all this other stuff. And, they don't want them to hate each other. And that, Noelle, that you are like a second dad to her and all this other stuff. And she's getting emotional. And that, she was like, you told me before we got married that if you wasn't happy or whatever, you wasn't going to settle and everything. And, so he decides to call the lawyer in front of her or whatever, and, to get the paperwork, started and everything. And I just, even though I do feel like that it was, I knew that sooner or later they was going to get a divorce and everything, it still is sad, what I'm saying, regardless. It is sad to see people get divorces and everything, even if we do feel how we feel about Peter or whatever. So, it is unfortunate. But anyways, moving on from that, we get Portia. We're finally at Portia's event. And, Portia wants to do something different. She wants to, do a escape from the room adventure type of thing versus, just doing the typical sit down at dinner or whatever, because it was going to be nothing but a whole bunch of shade throwing and everything. Um, so she splits them up into teams. Portia decides, she wants to be on the team with Cynthia and Kenya. Working with people that she typically doesn't really get along with at this point. And then Sheree, Phaedra, and Candy, they're on the team. And Kenya is like, I'm going to decide to grace Portia with my presence and all this other stuff. I'm like, what is it with you motherfuckers on these shows talking about gracing somebody with y'all presence? Like y'all above them. Like y'all all are on the same motherfucking show. Like, the fuck? But anyways, let me see. Kenya, she shades Portia. She was like, as long as, we don't lead Portia to find the Underground Railroad, we'll be alright. Candy, she shading Phaedra, about her book smarts, saying that, just because a person has book smarts, when it comes time to actually do some shit, it doesn't always go through, or something like that. She was saying, nobody won the challenge, so they all failed. They all leave except for Kenya and Sheree. Kenya decides to pull Sheree to the side or whatever, and Kenya, it tells her, we could have teamed up on working on houses and everything. Sheree agrees, and Kenya is like, oh, I was just joking or whatever. And Sheree was like, no, but like we really could have and everything. And Kenya was like, well, I did extend, the olive branch to you or whatever. Which I do think I remember Kenya extending that olive branch last season, but I think she was probably being shady with it, so maybe that's why Sheree didn't take it. But anyways, Kenya brings up what Sheree told to the girl Lena or whatever, and Sheree was like, well, you threw shade first or whatever, and they flash back to when Kenya threw shade at Sheree at the housewarming, when she was the first one to throw, the shade. And Kenya is like, yeah, but it's always been friendly shade between you and I. Which I do agree. They both have always thrown shade to each other back and forth. Little cutesy shade. Sheree is like, Kenya is like, but you sitting up here making a list about what's wrong with this and what's wrong with that and all this other stuff. And Sheree starts to bring up, Kenya throwing Portia and Phaedra out or whatever. Which I don't really know what that had to do with anything, but Sheree pretty much is like, she's not about to sleep in an unfinished house, and Kenya calls her a bitch. Kenya is like, at least, my house is in my name, and they start calling each other bitches and hoes. Sheree putting her hands in Kenya's face, and, Kenya like, oh, I'm not going to deal with this. I already have to deal with Matt being aggressive or whatever. I'm not going to deal with another man, shaking Sheree at this point, trying to call her a man, doing that to me or whatever. So, Kenya, she's walking away and everything, and Sheree says that Kenya always starting something that she can't finish. I was like, true, and Sheree is doing the same thing that she did to Nene. Y'all remember, I can't remember what season it was, but you remember when her and Nene got into like a argument, and Nene was walking away from Sheree, and Sheree was following her ass all the way outside to Nene's truck. That's the same thing she was doing to Kenya, following her all the way outside as Kenya was twirling along. That pretty much was like, the end of the episode. Like, this episode was boring, y'all. I'm gonna be honest, it was boring. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I needed to say? Oh, in regards to the whole Portia and Kenya thing, this is how I feel about it. I feel like, Phaedra, you did know that, Kenya didn't want Portia to be there and everything. Like, you knew. But at the same time, maybe, Kenya, you should have made it very, very clear, instead of throwing light shade in your invitation about no thoughts allowed. You know what I'm saying? So I could see that situation from both sides. But in regards to this whole Sheree and Kenya situation, it looked like that's going to be both of their storylines for this season, shading each other about these fucking houses and shit. And I'm just, that shit is going to be so fucking annoying, because like they both said, they both could have really worked together and uplifted each other with their houses and everything. But no, they too fucking petty for that shit. to do that. So I mean, it is what it is. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it. If I left some stuff out, y'all leave it down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you share the video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.